I blocked my mum from a café on Queen Street West, with oat milk foam still on my lip. It wasn't a dramatic movie moment, no thunder, no violins, just me, my phone, and the shaky, nauseous feeling you get right before you press end call on a life you've always known. She was in London, I was in Toronto. 5 time zones and an ocean between us, and somehow she still managed to be inside my chest, rewiring my heartbeat with phrases like, "You've changed since you moved. This Toronto phase is ridiculous, Lily. You think you're too good for us now?" That afternoon, she crossed a line she'd been towing for years. "Your grandmother's ill," she'd said. "If you were a decent daughter, you'd move back. Living in Canada is selfish. You abandoned your family for what? Some job, some Canadian boyfriend." The way she spat Canadian like it was a disease made the people at the next table glance over. My hand shook as I held the phone. "I'm not coming back, Mum," I said. "I can visit, I can call, but I'm not uprooting my life again because you don't like being alone." "You ungrateful girl," she hissed. "If I died tomorrow, could you live with yourself in that little Toronto flat so far away?" The words hit something raw and scared in me. I looked at my reflection in the cafe window, 28 dark circles under my eyes, a life in a new country I was finally starting to like, and still, somehow, a teenager trying not to cry in front of her mother. I didn't shout. I didn't swear. I just said, very quietly, "I need a break from you." Then I hung up. Opened our chat. Pressed block. The world didn't explode. I finished my coffee with shaking hands, walked home past the CN Tower, and tried not to throw up. 2 weeks later, my doorbell rang at 7:13 inches the morning. I opened the door in my pajamas, hair a mess, and there she was. My mum, from London. When I told my mum I'd accepted a job in Toronto, she didn't say congratulations. She said, "Canada? But why?" There are some questions that are really accusations in disguise. I tried to keep my voice light. "Because they offered me a promotion, Mum. Because it's a great role. Because I'm tired of commuting an hour across London in the rain to earn the same money for twice the stress." She was chopping carrots at the kitchen counter. The knife stopped mid-slice. "There are plenty of jobs here," she said. "Your cousin Emma works in Canary Wharf. She didn't need to run to another continent." I resisted the urge to say that Emma also cried in the office toilets twice a week. "My company has an office in Toronto," I explained again. They asked if I'd consider relocating. "It's a 2-year contract, maybe more if I like it. They'll handle the visa, flights, all of it." Mum snorted. "You sound like a brochure." Dad, sitting at the small table by the window, cleared his throat. "It's a good opportunity, love," he said quietly. "Canada's nice, clean, they have healthcare." "So do we," Mum snapped. "It's called the NHS. Or have you forgotten where you come from already?" I pressed my fingers to my temples. "I'm not forgetting anything. I'm just going. For a while." "You make it sound like you're popping to the supermarket," she said. "This is not for a while, Lily. This is you leaving. Leaving us." There it was again, the hook. Leaving us. As if I'd been living in their spare room and eating their food, instead of in a 1-bed flat in Hackney I could barely afford. "I'm 27, I said. "People move countries all the time." "Not people with mothers who need them," she shot back. I glanced at Dad. He looked down at his tea, stirring it long after the sugar had dissolved. "Mum, you're 58, not 88, I said, trying for a joke. "You do yoga. You walk faster than I do." She didn't smile. "You think this is about my hips?" she said softly. Your grandmother is getting worse. The doctor says her memories are slipping. I can't do this on my own, Lily. Your brother is useless. You're the eldest. You're the girl. So my life is… What? I asked. A backup care plan. Our life, she corrected. Family. That's what family is. I thought about my tiny London flat, the mold in the bathroom, the boss who expected me to be flexible, which always meant more work, never more pay. I thought about the evenings where I stared at job boards and wondered if this was it until retirement. I thought about the second I'd stepped off the plane in Toronto for the interview trip, the shock of bright winter sun, the scrape of skates on the rink outside City Hall, the dizzy little thrill that whispered, "You could start over here." "What did Nan say?" I asked. Mum's jaw tightened. She said, "Good for her. We didn't have those options at her age. But she doesn't mean it." "She does," I said quietly. "She told me herself on the phone. She said, 'You go, girl. Someone in this family should cross the Atlantic for something other than a layover.'" Mum's eyes flared. "She did not." "She did," I said. "She also said she'd be furious if I turned down a promotion because of her." Mum went back to chopping carrots. Harder now. "She always liked you best," she muttered. The conversation went in circles for weeks. At work, my new manager sent me PDFs about relocation, tax codes, neighborhoods. At home, Mum sent me links to London flats and said, "Look, this one has a balcony. You could move closer to us instead." Dad floated through it all like a ghost, making tea and saying things like, "It's your decision, love," that meant everything and nothing. The morning I left, Heathrow smelled like coffee and perfume and nerves. Mum hugged me so tightly I could feel her ribs. "You don't have to go," she whispered in my ear. "You can still say no at the gate. Just don't get on the plane." I hugged her back, throat thick. "I'll call," I said. "Every week. I'll visit. You'll visit. It's not the end of the world, Mum. It's just Canada." She pulled back to look at me. "That's what you think now," she said. "Just wait until the ocean is between us and you realize you can't come running back." She said it like a threat and a prophecy. At the security barrier, I turned and waved one last time. She didn't wave back. She stood there, arms folded, lips pressed thin, like a queen watching a subject defect. Dad lifted his hand, small and apologetic. I went through security and onto the plane. As we took off, London shrank into a grey patchwork below. The wing tilted, the city slid out of view. I pressed my forehead to the window and let myself cry for exactly 4 minutes, according to the in-flight screen. Then I wiped my face, put my headphones on, and started watching a movie about a woman who moves to a new city and magically becomes a better version of herself. Life, I would soon learn, is less cinematic. Standing in the hallway of my building in Toronto, suitcase at her feet, coat still smelling like Heathrow. "You blocked me," she said, eyes flashing. "So I got on a plane." My first winter in Toronto, my eyelashes froze. No one tells you that can happen. People say things like, "Oh, it's cold in Canada," as if that means bring a scarf and not your nose hairs will crystallize when you step outside. The air hurt my face. The snow piled up in soft, deceptive drifts that tried to swallow my boots. The sky was so bright it made my London-trained eyes ache. But the space did something to my brain. Wide streets, actual sunlight, parks that weren't just rectangles of grass surrounded by dual carriageways, a lake that looked like an ocean. My flat was small but somehow bigger than my London one. High ceilings, creaky floorboards, a fire escape I liked to stand on at night, watching the city lights blink. My new office was downtown in a glass building that reflected the sky. My co-workers said sorry when they bumped into me and no worries like they meant it. People brought donuts just because. My manager actually said the words, "Make sure you take your vacation." My first video call home, I spun my laptop around to show my parents the view. "Look," I said, pointing at the water glinting in the distance. "That's Lake Ontario, and that's the CN Tower, and down there, that's a place that does the best tacos." "You're very far away," Mum interrupted. I swallowed. "Yes," I said, "I am." Dad smiled awkwardly. "Looks nice," he said. "Big. You all right for money?" "I'm fine," I said. "Better than London, actually. Did you get the parcel I sent? With the maple biscuits?" "We got it," Mum said. "They were very sweet." She said sweet like an insult. I told her about the streetcars and the coffee shops and the way people queued politely at crosswalks. She told me about Nan's memory lapses, my brother's latest job, the neighbour's new car. For a while, we managed. Sunday evenings became our time. I'd call as the light faded over the lake. They'd answer with their kitchen in the background, kettle boiling, the familiar chaos of our little London house. Sometimes it felt almost good. Mum would say, "What did you cook this week?" And I'd tell her about my attempts at chili or curries, and she'd give me unsolicited advice. "You're overcooking the garlic, that's why it tastes bitter," that somehow bridged the 3,000 miles between us. Then, slowly, things shifted. It started with small comments. "What time is it there?" she'd ask. 2 in the afternoon, I'd say, stretching in my office chair between meetings. "Shouldn't you be at work?" she'd demand. "I'm on my lunch break," I'd explain. "We're allowed to take those here." She'd say, "Must be nice." Or, "I saw your photos from that bar on Facebook. Out again on a weeknight?" "It was a friend's birthday, Mum," I'd say. "Careful, Lily, you're not 20 anymore, and all those Canadians drink too much." Or, "Your cousin Emma got engaged, you know." "That's great," I'd say genuinely. "I'll message her." "She's 30, settled, thinking about kids," Mum would add. "You're, what? Going on dates with men who'll probably move away after a year?" I'd bite my tongue until it hurt. The real cracks came when Nan got worse. First, it was little things lost keys, repeated stories, then names, then whole days gone from her mind. Mum was exhausted. I could hear it in her voice, the way she sighed between sentences, the sharpness that cut through even when she was talking about the weather. "I barely sleep," she said once. "Your grandmother wakes up at 3 in the morning and thinks I'm her sister. She tries to leave the house, and your father snores through all of it." "Have you talked to her doctor?" I asked. "About respite care, or—" "We're not putting her in a home," she snapped. "I promised her." "I didn't say that," I replied. You need help." "What I need," she said quietly, "is my daughter. Guilt is a sneaky animal. It creeps up when you're not looking and curls up in your chest. I sent money. I booked flights. I went back twice that year, using most of my holiday days to sit in a familiar living room that somehow felt smaller now, watching Nan fade in and out of recognition. Sometimes she'd look at me and say, "You're the one who went to Canada," with a proud little smile. Sometimes she'd call me by Mum's name and ask why I was so tall. Each time I flew back to Toronto, Mum would stand at the airport door, arms crossed, and say, "Enjoy your other life," like a curse. "You could visit," I'd say. There's a spare bed now that my flatmate moved out. I'd show you the city, the island, the markets. You'd like the markets. She'd shake her head. I have responsibilities here, she'd say. I'm not like you. I don't just run. The day I blocked her, it was 10 degrees and sunny in Toronto, raining and grey in London. Mum loved to give me the weather report, as if it was proof Canada was ridiculous. See, she'd say when I told her about -15 degrees Celsius, British rain isn't so bad now, eh? She'd mock my over-softened A and laugh. That day, I was supposed to call her from home. Instead, my boss dragged me into a surprise meeting, and by the time I was free, I needed to get out of the apartment. I went to my favourite café on Queen Street. Exposed brick, plants hanging from the ceiling, the low hum of indie music, and people pretending to write novels on their laptops. I texted her, "Running late, can call now if you're free." She replied within seconds, "Finally." I took a deep breath, hit video call, and watched her kitchen materialize on the screen. "Where are you?" she demanded, instead of hello. "A cafe," I said. "It's noisy at home. They're doing repairs upstairs." "You're always in some cafe," she sniffed. "Do you not own a kettle?" I forced a smile. "Hi, Mum. How are you?" She launched into an update about Nan's latest confusion, the new car the neighbours had bought, my brother's uselessness. "Your brother is here every day," she said. "But you?" "I'm 3,000 miles away. I finished for her. I know." "You chose that," she said. "Don't make yourself the victim." "I'm not," I said. "I'm just acknowledging." She squinted at the screen. "You look tired," she said. "Have you been going out again?" I laughed. "Mum, I'm an adult. Sometimes I see friends. It's not a crime." "With your Canadian boyfriend?" she pressed. I sighed. I told her about Max once. Big mistake. "Max and I broke up 3 months ago," I said. "I told you." "You said you were taking a break," she insisted. "Which is ridiculous. Either you're together or you're not." "We're not," I said firmly. "Well," she said, "maybe that's for the best. You need someone stable, not someone who thinks snow and hockey are a personality." Despite myself, I laughed. "That's harsh to an entire nation, Mum." She didn't smile. The call went on like that for a while, little jabs disguised as jokes, guilt disguised as concern. I felt my patience wearing thin. When she mentioned Nan, something in her voice scared me. "She didn't know who I was yesterday," she said suddenly, eyes shining. She looked at me and said, "Excuse me, miss, where's my daughter?" I wanted to scream, "I'm here, Mum, I've been here this whole time." "I'm so sorry," I said. "That must have been awful." "It was," she said. "And where were you?" The words were quiet but heavy. "Mum." "Where were you?" she repeated louder. "At some bar in Toronto, on a date with some man who'll never understand you?" "I was at work," I said. "Then I was asleep. Time zones, remember?" "You always have an excuse," she said. "Time zones, meetings, flights. You missed your grandmother's mind, Lily. You blinked and it went. How can you be so calm?" "I'm not calm," I said, my own voice rising. "I'm devastated. I cry about her on streetcars. I talk about her to people who never met her. Just because I'm not physically next to you doesn't mean I don't care." "If you really cared, you'd be here," she said simply. "You'd move back, you'd help me. Instead, you abandoned your family." Something snapped. "I didn't abandon anyone," I said. "I moved. That's it. I send money, I visit, I call every week, even when I'm exhausted. I am allowed to have a life that isn't completely built around your needs. Your needs, she repeated. Listen to you, all this therapy talk, your needs, your boundaries. When did you become so selfish? I felt the eyes of the woman at the next table flick to me, then away. This isn't selfish, I said quietly. This is survival. Oh, survival, she scoffed. In your cozy Canadian flat. Meanwhile, I'm here wiping your grandmother when she forgets how toilets work. That's not fair, I said. You're choosing not to take the help the council offered. You're choosing not to consider respite care, or... I'm choosing to keep my mother at home, where she belongs, she snapped, like a decent daughter. I stared at her. Am I indecent then? I asked. If the shoe fits, she said. The silence stretched. My heart pounded in my ears. Mum, I said slowly, I love you. I love Nan, but I am not moving back. I will visit as much as I can. I will help however I can from here. But I won't uproot my life because you refuse to accept help. Her face went cold. If I die tomorrow, she said, voice like ice, can you live with yourself in that little Toronto flat so far away? There was the threat again, the curse. My throat tightened. Don't say that, I whispered. Why not? She demanded. It's true. You'll be over there playing at being Canadian while your real family falls apart. And when it's over, you'll be alone. No husband, no kids, no roots, just your precious career. Something inside me unclenched. It didn't feel like breaking. It felt like waking up. I can't do this, I said, more to myself than to her. Do what? She snapped. This, I repeated, this constant guilt, this weaponizing of love. I'm suffocating, Mum. 5 minutes into every call, I feel like I'm being put on trial. Oh, poor you, she said. Maybe if you behaved like a daughter, you'd feel less guilty. I took a deep breath. The cafe noise blurred around me. The steam from my coffee curled in front of the screen. I need a break from you, I said. She froze. What did you say? She asked. I need a break, I repeated. Not from Nan, not from Dad, from you, from this version of you that only calls to tell me I'm failing you. Well, she said, voice trembling now, if you want a break, you've got one. Don't call me again. The familiar panic shot through me, the one that had kept me in 1,000 bad conversations. This time I didn't grab it. I'm sorry you feel that way, I said. I love you, I really do, but I can't keep doing this. She opened her mouth, eyes blazing. I hit the red button. The call ended. Her frozen image stared back at me for a second, then disappeared. I sat there, breathing hard, staring at my reflection in the black screen. Then, before I could overthink it, I opened our WhatsApp chat. 3 years of messages, photos, voice notes. My thumb hovered over the menu. Block contact? The screen asked. Yes, no. I tapped yes. A tiny line of text appeared. You will no longer receive calls or messages from this contact. I put my phone down on the table, pressed my palms over my eyes, and let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. 10 minutes later, my heart was still racing. I walked home in a daze, the city blurring around me, neon signs, the rumble of streetcars, the crunch of old snow under my boots. For the first time since moving to Toronto, the space felt frightening instead of freeing. I had blocked my mum. I had no idea what that would cost me. For 2 weeks, my life was eerily quiet. No Sunday call, No midweek text that started with quick question and ended with a guilt trip. I thought I'd feel lighter. Instead, I felt untethered. I'd pick up my phone automatically at 6 p.m. on Sunday, then remember, scroll through Instagram, see a meme she'd have laughed at, then remember. See a sale on tea bags she liked, then remember. I didn't unblock her. I didn't text Dad directly either. He was part of the web. Any message I sent to him would go straight to her. I told exactly 3 people what I'd done: my therapist, my friend Zoe, and Max, my ex, who had somehow remained my emergency contact. Good for you, Zoe said, over wine and nachos. Honestly, Lil, your mum was a lot. You've been trying to draw a line for years. She kept smudging it. This is a line. I feel like I've kicked a puppy, I said. Your mum is not a puppy, Zoe replied. She's a fully grown woman who knows what she's doing when she says things like, "If I die tomorrow." Dr. Choi, my therapist, was more measured. Blocking can be a protective step, she said. It gives you breathing space. The important part is what you do with that space. Do you use it to process or to rehearse arguments in your head? Both, I admitted. Mostly the second. Max just texted back, "Honestly, I'm surprised it took this long." On day 13, my doorbell rang at 7:13 a.m. I groaned, rolled over, and checked my phone. No messages. Whoever it was leaned on the buzzer. All right, I muttered, shoving my hair into a messy bun. I shuffled to the door in an old t-shirt and pajama bottoms, squinting through the peephole. All I saw at first was a suitcase handle. Then my brain caught up. She looked smaller in real life than she did on my phone screen, or maybe my hallway was just bigger than my childhood one. Dark coat, hair pulled back, handbag clutched in one hand like a shield, face pale from the flight, eyes bright and furious. "Mum?" I croaked. "You blocked me," she said, marching past me into the flat. Her suitcase bumped over the threshold. "I had to call your landlord to get your buzzer code. Do you know how humiliating that was?" I stared. "How did you what?" "You're in Toronto," I said, as if she might not have noticed. "Yes," she said, dropping the suitcase in the middle of my living room. "Clearly you weren't going to come to London, and clearly you're not going to pick up the phone, so I came to you." "You flew across the Atlantic without telling me," I said slowly. "Well, you just have blocked the number," she shot back. "Do you know how many times I tried to call you before I realized? And then I saw that little tick on WhatsApp. Blocked. Your own mother." I leaned against the door frame, heart pounding. "You can't just show up in another country," I said. "You could have texted before I blocked you. You could have emailed. You could have asked Dad to—" "I'm not involving your father," she snapped. "He's useless in these situations. He told me to give you time." "Time for what? To forget you have a mother?" I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Please lower your voice," I said. "My neighbors are asleep." "I flew 7 hours to talk to my daughter," she said. "I'll use whatever voice I like." We stared at each other across my small living room, the morning light creeping in around the edges of the blinds. My Toronto life, watched from the shelves, books, plants, a photo of me and my friends at the island, a magnet from the CN Tower. "This is nice," she said, surprising me. "Bigger than your London place." "It is," I said warily. "You have a view," she added, glancing at the window. "Lucky." "Yeah," I said. "I like it." She took in the Canadian plug adapters, the coat rack, the shoes by the door. You made a life here, she said, and there was something like accusation and something like awe in her voice. Yes, I said softly, I did. She looked back at me. Well, she said briskly, that's exactly why I came. I booked an Airbnb, she said, accepting the mug of tea I handed her like it was a peace offering. I'm not staying in your bed, don't look at me like that. I wasn't, I lied. My brain was still trying to catch up with the fact that my mother was sitting on my Toronto sofa, sipping tea from my chipped mug, commenting on my cushions. You have no color in here, she said. It's all beige and plants, very Instagram. My landlady painted it, I muttered. The plants are mine. She reached out and touched the leaf of my monstera. Fake? Real, I said. Don't overwater it. She smirked, and for a second I saw the woman who used to give advice to strangers in the supermarket about how to pick a good avocado. Why are you here, Mum? I asked. She put the mug down carefully. Because you blocked me, she said. Because you said you needed a break from me. Because my daughter, who moved to another continent, decided talking to me was more exhausting than living in Canada. Because I refused to have our relationship reduced to a red button on a screen. I sighed. It's not reduced to that. Isn't it? She asked. No calls, no texts, no way to know if you're dead in a ditch or just needing space. You could have emailed, I said. I did, she said. 3 times. You didn't reply. I didn't know what to say, I admitted. How about, I'm alive, she shot back. Silence settled between us. Mum, I said finally, blocking you wasn't about punishing you. It was about survival. Every call felt like an exam I was set up to fail. I'd hang up and feel like I was a terrible daughter and a terrible person for not moving back. And flying here unannounced is perfectly reasonable, she said. Is that it? I rubbed my temples. No, I said. Flying here unannounced is a lot. It's also very you. She had the decency to look faintly amused. Look, she said. I panicked. Your cousin showed me how to tell when someone's blocked you. She said, if you call and it goes straight to voicemail and there's no double tick, she's blocked you, Auntie. I thought, she wouldn't. Not my Lily. She looked at me like I'd turned into someone else. You did, she said simply. I thought I was going to be sick. I thought I've pushed her so far away she'd rather cut me off entirely than listen to my voice. Tears pricked my eyes. Mum, I said, do you think I did it lightly? I spent 2 hours staring at that button. I cried in a cafe bathroom. I thought you'd hate me. I did, she said. Honesty from her stung more than denial. Then, she continued, I imagined you lying in your flat, phone on silent, getting knocked down by a car in that ridiculous snow and me not knowing, because of pride, mine and yours. She sniffed. So I booked a ticket, I sold some jewelry, told your grandmother's carer I was going. Your father dropped me at Heathrow. He said, don't make it worse, love. Helpful as ever. I almost smiled. How long are you here? I asked. A week, she said, unless you throw me out sooner. I'm not going to throw you out, I said. You blocked me, she pointed out. That's different, I said. Very different. She gave me a look that said, is it, though? I sank into the armchair opposite her. Okay, I said. We have a week. What do you want from it? She blinked. I want to see your life, she said slowly. Properly, not just through that little window on the phone. I want to see what you chose over us. Her words were blunt, but there was a tremor underneath. It wasn't instead of you, I said. It was, for me. Well, she said, show me. So I did. I took her downtown. We craned our necks at the CN Tower. She made a face at the price of going up it, and an even bigger one at the glass floor. I don't like this, she said, clinging to the rail. Humans were not meant to walk on nothing. We walked along the waterfront. She complained about the wind and then said, "It is pretty, though," in the next breath. I took her on a streetcar. She held onto the pole like it was a lifeline and tutted under her breath at people playing music too loud on their phones. Same everywhere, she muttered. We went to my office. My colleagues were weirdly excited to meet her. She shook hands with my manager, looked around at the open-plan space and whispered, "It's like a call center, but fancier." She saw my desk, the plant I kept there, the postcard from London pinned to my monitor. "You put that there for me?" she asked. "No," I lied. Then, "Okay, maybe." We had dinner with Zoe, who was on her best behavior for exactly 30 minutes before making a joke about my mum's dramatic timing. "You flew across the ocean to yell at her?" Zoe said. "Iconic." Mum raised an eyebrow. "Someone had to," she said. They liked each other in a wary, mutual respect kind of way. At night, Mum went back to her Airbnb, a small basement flat 10 minutes away. I insisted on that distance, even after she tried once to say, "It's silly for me to pay when you have a sofa." "It's not about the sofa," I said. "It's about breathing room." She rolled her eyes, but she didn't push. Between tourist stops and small talk, the real conversations crept in. On day 3, over poutine in a noisy bar, she said, "Your therapist, what does she say about me?" I almost choked on a cheese curd. "I'm not telling you that," I said. "Why not?" she demanded. "Because therapy is for me," I said, "not a report card about you. Yes, we talk about our relationship, but it's about how I feel, not about diagnosing you." She poked at the food. "And how do you feel?" she asked, quieter now. I stared at the table. "Like I'm constantly failing you," I said. "Like no matter what I do, move back, move away, call, don't call, I'm either abandoning you or letting you control me." "Ouch," she muttered. "My therapist says that's a sign of an enmeshed relationship," I added, "where your feelings and mine got so tangled up I don't know which is which." She bristled. "Enmeshed," she repeated. "Is that another word for close that you lot have turned into an insult?" "There's close," I said, "and there's, if I don't answer your call, I feel like I'm a monster. They're different." She didn't answer. We walked back in silence, the city buzzing around us. Outside my building, she stopped. "I always thought I was a good mother," she said, staring at the pavement. "I started cooking from scratch. I came to every school play. I shouted at teachers if they treated you unfairly. I worked nights so you could have new trainers. I thought that gave me, I don't know, rights." "Rights to what?" I asked gently. "To your life," she said, voice breaking. "To know it, to shape it, to have a say. I thought I poured everything into this child, so she'll pour back into me when I'm old. That's how it worked for my mother, and hers." "And now?" I asked. "And now," she said, "my daughter lives in another country and blocks my number." I winced. "Mum," I said, "you did so much for me. I'm grateful, I really am. But none of that was a contract where I sign away my future. Love isn't a pension scheme. You're allowed to want my company. You're not entitled to my obedience." She looked at me like I'd just spoken Martian. "Do you regret having me?" I asked suddenly. The thought had haunted me more than I liked to admit. She snapped her head up. "Don't be stupid," she said. "You were the best thing I ever did. You and your brother. The rest was survival." "Then why?" I asked quietly. "Do I feel like I owe you my whole life just to break even?" She didn't have an answer. Neither did I. On her last day in Toronto, we sat on a bench in a small park near my flat. Kids shouted on the playground. A dog chased a squirrel up a tree. Somewhere, someone played bad guitar. Mum held a takeaway coffee like it was a prop. "You're not coming back," she said. "It wasn't a question." "Not to live," I said. "Not now. Maybe not ever. I don't know. But not because I don't love you, because my life fits better here." She nodded slowly. "I see it," she admitted. "You fit here. You're lighter. Even when you're tired. When you were in London, you started looking like your nan did at the end. Faded." I swallowed. "Thanks," I said. "I think." She huffed a laugh. "I still think," she said carefully, "that you underestimate what you've left behind. That one day, when we're gone, you might wish you'd had more Sundays in that poky London kitchen with us." "I probably will," I said. "Just like you probably wish you'd had fewer Sundays in your mother's house and more, I don't know, Sundays at the seaside, with friends, with yourself." She blinked. "Your therapist is really earning her money," she muttered. We sat in silence for a moment. "I can't promise I won't feel guilty," I said. "About Nan, about you, about everything. I've had good daughter wired into my bones since I was 5, but I can promise I'll call, I'll visit, I'll show up as much as I can without losing myself." "And what do you need from me?" she asked. The question hung there like a rare bird, surprising and fragile. "I need you to stop using death as leverage," I said. "No more if I die tomorrow speeches. I need you to stop calling me selfish for not moving back. I need you to respect that when I say I can't talk right now, that's not rejection. It's capacity." She pursed her lips. "That's a lot of needs," she said. "Yes," I said. "I'm your daughter. I'm needy." She snorted. Then, more quietly, "I can try." "Trying is enough," I said. "Trying is more than we've had." She nodded. We walked back to my flat so she could collect her suitcase. At the door, she turned to me. "Unblock me," she said. I hesitated. "I can't promise I won't slip," she added quickly. "Say something stupid, guilt trip you. I'm a work in progress, but being shut out completely, that nearly killed me, Lily." I pulled out my phone. Her name still in my contacts, Mum. "Unblock contact? Yes? No?" My thumb hovered. "I'm not doing this because you flew here," I said, "or because I feel guilty. I'm doing it because I think, maybe, we can build something better than what we had, slowly, with boundaries. With breaks if we need them, and if it ever becomes too much again, I reserve the right to press this button." She nodded. "Fair," she said. I tapped yes. Her name moved back into the land of numbers that could reach me. She smiled a small, real smile I hadn't seen in years. "I'll text you when I land," she said. "Please do," I replied. At the airport, she hugged me at the security barrier. "You don't have to go," I joked weakly. "You can still turn around at the gate." She rolled her eyes. "I have your grandmother," she said. "Your father, my life. You're not the only one with responsibilities, you know." "I know," I said. "I'm learning that." She pulled back, looked at my face like she was memorizing it. You're still my girl, she said, even when you're being a stubborn cow. You're still my mum, I said, even when you're being you. She laughed, and for a second we were both 20 years younger. Then she handed over her boarding pass, went through security, and disappeared into the crowd. That night my phone buzzed. Landed. Flight was long, seat was tiny, man next to me snored, Canada is too far, love you, X. I stared at the screen for a moment, then typed back. Glad you're home safe, London is too far as well, love you too, X. I stood on my fire escape, looking out over the city that had become mine streetlights, distant sirens, the CN Tower glowing against the sky. Somewhere, over the ocean, the invisible line between us stretched and softened. We were still on different continents. We were still, in many ways, different worlds. But for the first time since I'd boarded that plane, I didn't feel like I had to choose between my country and my mother, my life and my love. I'd blocked my mum in London. She'd flown to my new life in Toronto. And between Heathrow and Pearson, between guilt and stubbornness, between a red button and a text that simply said, landed. We had started, very clumsily, to find a way to stay in each other's lives without losing ourselves. It wasn't a neat ending. It wasn't a movie. It was just family. Messy, international, still here.